Okay, let's talk about the Sixers. The team that I predicted for the one seed in the East, not the finals, but the one seed in the East. They're 1-4 right now. I think the biggest thing to talk about right now is their defense. There's some things on offense I want to get to between pace and the balance of ball handling and stuff, but I think the defense is the big thing right now. So, their transition defense against the Raptors was not good. The one play I remember the most was I think Maxey missed a three. I could be wrong there, but he missed a three. Van Vliet gets the rebound. Siakam is sprinting the other way. He is past half court in a second, whereas there's like at least three Sixers behind him. And then it's him and Anunoby in the paint. Tobias is the only one waiting for him in the paint, and it's like, well, okay. There was a few where Gary Trent Jr. got some transition buckets out of it. I remember in the Celtics game, Jaylen Brown got a number of transition buckets, and that just simply can't happen. I believe I saw a stat they are dead last in transition defense right now. They also had some breakdowns against the Raptors where, like, Tyrese Maxey one time was going to double team Van Vliet, and I believe it led to a backdoor cut. And Embiid's like, bro, why'd you do that? Steve Jones pointed out on Twitter there was a play where Van Vliet screened for Siakam. Yes, you heard that right. And Maxey thought it was like a show and then get back to his guy, whereas PJ Tucker thought it was a switch, so it led to Siakam just getting an open three. However, I don't think that's all of their problems. I feel like if I could reference the Spurs game a little bit, one of the biggest buckets of the game was a Trey Jones bank shot floater, and Embiid was dropping and Maxey was on his back and he's coming around a screen from Pirtle, and he just had like no resistance at all. There's another play in that Spurs game where Doug McDermott gets like two screens from the corner, and they're asking Daniel House to just fight around both of them. They're not switching or anything. And, I mean, he kind of got there, but the three was, like, relatively easy for Doug McDermott, I would say. Pulling up one of Tatum's buckets against the Sixers in the first game of the season. You know, there's one where Brogdon takes Harden baseline. He gets there without too much trouble. Then he kicks it to Tatum in the opposite corner. He pump fakes once. PJ Tucker's out of the play. And, I mean, it results in a pull-up mid-range, and the Sixers can say, well, you know, efficiency numbers and all that. Like, it just seemed a little too easy. You know, there's Jaylen Brown coming around screens, and he's got daylight for a pull-up jumper. I don't know, man. I mean, look, Joel Embiid's going to play a drop most of the time, and that's fine. He's a very good rim protector, but part of that is guys got to get around screens to where ball handlers are not comfortably stepping into stuff. I mean, of course, he's not dropping every single possession. Hell, even in the Raptors game, Van Vliet, he got like a switch onto Tobias Harris, and Tobias was like a second too late to really contest his pull-up three like that. So all that's just got to be a little better, but I also wonder, will they feel pressure to play Thibault a little bit more? But we know what's the deal with him on offense. The other thing, too, though, I mentioned Embiid, like, they are asking him to do a lot to cover for this team defensively, and, you know, he had the foot stuff in the summer, and I guess we'll just see there. Anyway, let's talk about the offense. So, Maxey, Harden, and Embiid have all had some big point total games. I think, like, against the Spurs, they played kind of slow in the first half especially, which I think made it a little easier for the Spurs to set their defense, and they were typically dropping on Harden and Embiid actions, and I think they were able to cut off the driving lane for at least Harden enough on those plays. Now, later on in the game, and this is within Embiid still having 40 points and doing his Embiid thing, but there were also plays where like Embiid and Maxey would run a quick handoff action, especially in the second half, and it would lead to a lob. Or Harden and Embiid would run an empty corner pick and roll, and that led to a bounce pass. Embiid gets a dunk out of it. I mean, I think the signs are there with the offense, even if there's also times where stuff kind of gets out of whack and the spacing's a little awkward. Or there was a play in the late in the Raptors game with which their offensive rating was good overall, but like Harden and Maxey ran a little two-man action with Embiid on the wing just watching all this happen, and Maxey's got Siakam on him. There's like 9 seconds left in the shot clock. He's trying to ISO him, and I'm just like, so what's the plan right now exactly? Now, while that play was weird and he threw it back to Harden and there was like 1 second left, it was a rough play. Maxey does still matter a lot, and I think finding him in stride, sometimes when you're just walking up court, can definitely juice up this offense. And also putting him in positions to where he can attack off the catch. And remembering the Embiid-Maxey two-man game just kind of as much as you can, really. I think so far they've got the slowest pace in the league, which, I mean, pace is not a requirement in order to be good, but I do think it can allow you to just get like a few more easy buckets a game, because they do have to work kind of hard to get their buckets. Like, even if Embiid is going to make his face-up jumpers or draw his fouls per game and do all that, it's like, it would be nice if you could just get a few where Embiid just sprints right when the possession begins and he just gets it because the defense isn't back yet and he's got position underneath the basket. You know what I mean? Now, with that said, look, I'm not expecting a team led by Embiid and Harden to be running a track meet, but instead of dead last in pace, maybe be like 28th, you know what I mean? The other thing, too, is I still feel like the spacing on Embiid post-ups could be better. There were times, like especially with the Raptors and Celtics games, where they were able to just kind of swipe in at him, and whether it's strip the ball from him or steal the pass as it's coming to him or whatever, or kind of crowd him to push him off of his spot a little bit, like, and maybe around him they're a little too slow to get into their right spots, or guys are standing a little too close to each other, which hurts the spacing. And look, they're very talented. I don't know if they're putting their best foot forward with everything they're doing on offense. And with all this said, they're still going to have the big point total nights because like Embiid is good enough to just play through all that. As for the Bucks' loss, Joel took a lot of face-up jumpers. Brook Lopez kind of locked him up at times, to be honest. I don't know what happens. As for everybody else, well, number one, Sixers Internet wants Doc fired. So there you go. Just go to the Sixers subreddit. It's just a fired Doc party. As for some of the players, well, Montrez has had a tough time so far. And I think if he is not going to be able to get open driving lanes to where he can finish, then I don't really know what value he has for this team. And so then you're potentially looking at Paul Reed or, other guys at center lineups. Don't want to put too much on PJ Tucker's plate. The guy is, 37 now?